You ride like a fucking monkey humping a football.
What was that? Say it again.
You ride like a monkey fucking a football, Caitlin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now don't break the rules again.
This is really cute.
Don't break your horse's back.
It's a horrible female trait
Mm-hmm.
that women are basically innately jealous of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's your husband, your house, your car, your
Mhm.
jewelry, men are happy to see other men do well, like their friends, right? They like it. They don't have an issue with it. Like, great, you got a new job, great, they're actually much better at that. Women are kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
that means that she's doing better than me. It's jealousy, right? Hang on, why does he like her?
Yeah.
I'm better than her.
The patriarchy couldn't have written this better, right? Oh, the women get catty and all start attacking each other. The CIA couldn't have come up with a better plan. All of this finger pointing, attacking, and exclusion, we have to go by monikers, made up names or whatever. We did that to protect ourselves from men. Guess who it's been actually doxing us? It's been women, and you all should be fucking ashamed of yourselves. Karma will come for you. You've made sure of that. The more y'all normalize this, you have to understand the men are watching.
Yes. Yes, we are. This whole thing reminds me of that Al Bundy quote. Don't try and understand women. Women understand women and they hate each other. Have you ever had the experience of listening to somebody and not just learning new information, but learning a whole new lens, a new paradigm with which to understand the world and culture? Listening to that person just tips everything on its head, and suddenly everything makes more sense. Well, I recently listened to an interview with a woman who gave me that experience. Listening to her speak was absolutely fascinating. Her name is Dr. Danny Sulakowski. Remember that name. I predict that this woman is going to be very influential. I came across her when this fellow on the left, his name is Benjamin Boyce, he reached out to me because he said that my name had come up in the comments section of this interview and he wanted to invite me onto his podcast. And so I watched the interview and it was so good. She has a fascinating perspective on female competition, and in this video, I'm going to share her theories and her research with you. I'm going to put a link below to the original podcast if you'd like to watch that, and I want to make it absolutely clear, none of what's in this video are my original thoughts. All credit goes to Dr. Danny and for Benjamin Boyce for doing such a great interview with her. I'm not trying to plagiarize, it's just that her ideas were so good, I really wanted to share them, but if you like what you hear in this video, please go and check out the original. So what is her perspective? Well, we see that society is collapsing, civilization is in decline, but everybody is asking why? What is driving this? Her perspective is that it is female intrasexual competition, women competing with other women, sabotaging each other's reproductive prospects. That's her explanation. That's why everything is collapsing. Now, maybe at first it sounds far-fetched, but let me walk you through it. Really pay attention here. Try and understand this, because if you fully connect the dots, the implications of this are massive. So how is it true that our society is dying because women are sabotaging each other? To start with, understand that reproductive competition looks very different for men than it does for women. For men, it's all about outperforming other men, focusing on yourself and doing your best. But for women, competition looks more like sabotage, making sure other women don't do well. If it was a running race and the finish line was reproductive success, men would be looking straight ahead. They would just be going as fast as they can, trying to outrun their competition. But for women, they'd be looking at their fellow competitors and thinking of ways that they could sabotage her. Why? Why is there a difference here based on gender? Okay, let's get scientific. Think about the fact that men produce millions of sperm, and they can basically have infinite children. If the world's population was only 5% men, still, we'd be fine. Biologically speaking, men aren't really limited in their capacity to reproduce. Their struggle is gaining access to women who are willing to mate with them. It is access, not biology, that is the bottleneck to men's reproductive success. So given that, you see that sabotage doesn't really make sense as a strategy. Removing a rival doesn't guarantee that you're going to get chosen. If women are only going to mate with the top percentage of men, then your best course of action is to raise yourself up to be be in that top percentage. Any time that you spend dragging others down is wasted time not leveling yourself up. For women, there is no shortage of willing men. Biology is the bottleneck. They can only have so many children. Most women will reproduce. That's not in doubt. The question is, what quality of father is she going to be able to attract, and how well are her children going to be provided for? You see, for women, it is quality over quantity. And the better that her children do compared to other children, the more her genetic line advances. The less appealing her fellow women seem, the more likely she is to get chosen by that top percentage man. You can see that men and women face very different challenges when it comes to reproductive success. And this, of course, alters our behavior. Men try and outperform other men, and women focus on sabotaging other women. Dr. Danny says this is why Western civilization is collapsing. Because women control the dating market, what you're seeing is the female instinct to sabotage all their female competitors playing out on a large scale. The result is the slow poisoning of society. And this is quite different from when men are in control of the dating market. Because when men are in charge, the focus is on outcompeting each other. When that's the focus of a civilization, then you're going to find that society is expanding. They are building, creating, innovating, exploring. When men are struggling to outcompete other men, everything gets better. Everything improves. But when women are in control, civilization spirals downwards as women rush to sabotage each other. Now, it used to be that being a wealthy woman gave you an inbuilt advantage. Your children were more likely to survive because you had better access to high-quality education, nutrition, and healthcare. But in the modern world, there have been so many technological advancements that that advantage is not as large as it once was. The infant mortality rate is really low. And so the female mind began to think of new ways that it can gain a competitive advantage. The rich lady in the gated community and her kids have trust funds from her wealthy husband, she knows that her kids are going to be fine, but she also knows that she can extend that advantage if she undermines the reproductive success of other women. We're talking about luxury beliefs, ideas that confer a social status upon the upper class women who espouse these ideas, but they extract a devastating cost on the lower class women who also adopt them. The rich lady, she can afford to indulge in nonsense. She's very cushioned. But for the lower class lady, these ideas can be devastating. And the motivation behind adopting these beliefs is not sincere. The purpose, it is how women are competing with each other. They are sabotaging each other's reproductive success. Listening to Dr. Danny, I identified 3 goals that their sabotage is intended to achieve. Number 1, make other women unattractive to men. Number 2, make other women not want children. And number 3, make society hostile to children. It's in that third one that explains so much, but it's also where it gets pretty dark. But before we get to that, I want to share that recently I've been doing a lot of hiking. Check out these pictures and check out this owl that I found. Hiking has been great for my fitness. I've now lost 15 kilograms from when I was at my heaviest. And my time in nature has been greatly enhanced by the sponsor of today's video, Raycon. Their new essential open earbuds are perfect for the outdoors. They don't block you off from the world. They just sit outside your ear canal so I can listen to my audiobook and still hear all of the birds singing. When I'm on a hiking trail, the cord of my old headphones would constantly get caught on like leaves and branches. But with these earbuds, I just hook them around my ears and they stay put. And with the case, they have a 36-hour battery life, which means that they not only last the distance of the hike, but I don't even need to think about charging them throughout the week. Raycon earbuds give you the same sound quality as the big brands, but at half the price. Over 3 million people already use them, and they offer a 30-day happiness guarantee, so there's no risk. Plus, it's their anniversary, and to celebrate, they are selling at 30% off. So if you're ready to upgrade your audio, just click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/AlexGraceOpen to get 30% off their essential open earbuds. That's buyraycon.com/AlexGraceOpen. I love using them and I'm confident that you're going to as well. Okay, back to the video and Dr. Danny's theory that society is collapsing because of the female instinct to undermine the reproductive success of other women. They do this in 3 ways: make other women unattractive to men, make other women not want kids, and make society hostile to children. Let's start with this one, make other women unattractive to men. It's not a mystery what men find attractive in women. From an evolutionary perspective, it is fertility cues and paternity certainty. In other words, he wants a woman who's going to give birth to healthy children, and he wants to be confident that they are his. There is actually an ideal weight for women to be, like a certain BMI that is optimal for them to get pregnant. Being too thin or being overweight, that can affect a woman's ability to conceive. But what's really interesting is that the beauty standards pushed by society very rarely conform to this ideal weight. Whether it's the anorexia that was pushed in the 1990s or the really obese body positivity, fat pride movement of today, whichever side of the spectrum, there's this consistent effort being pushed to convince women that what is ugly is beautiful and that what is obviously beautiful is actually toxic. You saw that with the Sydney Sweeney scandal where they're like, oh, it's like white supremacy or whatever. Women might play dumb, but they know what's attractive and what's not. In the podcast, they discussed these street interviews that went viral on TikTok where they would go up to women and they'd ask, hey, is Lizzo beautiful? Like when she was really overweight, was she beautiful? And all these women would be like, oh yeah, she's so gorgeous, she's so beautiful. And then the interviewer would say, okay, so how would you feel if I called you Lizzo? If I said, you remind me of Lizzo? And of course, the women got like really offended. That's not a coincidence. You see, that's the game. That's the sabotage. It is in your best interest as a woman to be conventionally attractive, to be beautiful and desirable to men, but it extends your advantage if you can convince all of the other women into believing nonsense like being obese is actually beautiful, because if you can trick them, then you've just eliminated a competitor. The same goes for the glorification of sex work or promiscuity. Women are pretending that it's empowering and it's like, yeah, go start your OnlyFans. We fully support you. The sisterhood is behind this, but it's just an elaborate sabotage. These women know that men hate that kind of behavior. We're not attracted to sex workers or women with a huge body count. It plays directly on that core fear that we have about paternity certainty. But a woman's support of that kind of promiscuity, that is strategic, because while she can remain chaste and desirable to men, if she encourages all the other women to sleep around and slut it up, then she's just reducing more and more of her competition. This also happens with attacks on femininity and this culture-wide push that we see to try and convince women that it's empowering to be all like tough and aggressive and masculine. Men don't want that. Men are attracted to femininity because it means that she's going to be a good mum. And the smart women know this, but it's in their best interest to be a feminine woman and to convince all the other women to be unpleasant and masculine. If you can convince all of your female competitors to hate their own femininity, you get a huge advantage. Now, of course, what's easier than directly competing for men is just outright convincing your fellow women to opt out of reproduction entirely. But of course, you can't just explicitly say outright, I want you to not have children so there are more resources for mine. No, that's too obvious. Women are never direct like that. You have to wrap up your sabotage with nice words so that it sounds caring and loving and empowering. And so you see the glorification of the boss babe archetype. The idea that your ultimate fulfillment as a woman is your career and making money. They turn consumerism into its own religion, because any woman who is busy worshipping materialism, she's not going to have time to reproduce. She can't slow down to have children. That's just going to interrupt her career and her accumulation of more stuff. In the podcast, they make the point that the message that is given to young women who accidentally fall pregnant is that they have to get an abortion because otherwise their life is over. It could jeopardize your career. And of course, a career is more important than a child. It's another luxury belief. Wealthy women say that they are pro-choice, but if you look at the statistics, 75% of abortions come from women who are low income. Now, feminism has a very strong anti-motherhood message. There are feminists who say, like, motherhood is slavery. It keeps you chained to the patriarchy. Encouraging women into marriage and having lots of children, that is not the feminist cause.
France, I think Macron a little while ago, announced that he was going to have free fertility screening for all women, because obviously French has a birth rate problem like the rest of the world. Feminists went bonkers. They went mental. How dare, how oppressive. We have so many more important issues and all you want to do is check which one of us, whether or not we...
breeders.
That's right. They went nuts.
Do not underestimate the pressure that women feel to conform to the group. When they are told that they need to be a girl's girl, to be part of the sisterhood, to be a good feminist, to join that club, they need to downplay their own instincts for motherhood. And sadly, there are so many women who have been suckered into that nonsense, not realizing that they've been sabotaged. It's like they have voluntarily handicapped themselves. It's tragic. Traditional motherhood is very rarely mentioned and certainly not celebrated. But interestingly, what does get a lot of attention is when a woman's instinct for motherhood gets channeled into different areas. Other causes that are sold as being more noble, like a woman who feels like she's a mother of her community, or she gets really involved in activism or politics or something. Do you remember when Angelina Jolie and a bunch of other celebrities were on this adoption spree? They adopted children from around the world. Those adoptions received a suspiciously large amount of media attention. And in the podcast, they were saying that that's not an accident. All of that attention was trying to sell you on the idea that it is a good thing to channel your mothering instincts away from your biological children into these other avenues. And lastly, let's talk about the general poisoning of society that makes it a hostile environment for raising children and reproducing. Let's start with immigration because it is a really fascinating one, because in the modern world, anti-immigration sentiment tends to come from the lower classes of workers, like the working class. But from this lens of female sabotage, that actually makes a lot more sense. But it makes sense if you consider the circumstances where the native working class of a country are able to keep pace with the upper class in terms of their reproduction, then there's no advantage for the wealthy class. But if you introduce a lot of immigration, then suddenly there's a lot of competition for those working class jobs. There's less housing available because property prices go up. There's runaway inflation, and there's a cost of living increase, which has the effect of making it seem like having children is a financial luxury. Like, oh, I'm a working class person. I can't even afford to have kids. That's a privilege, that's left for the rich. If my working class job has just been snapped up by immigrants, suddenly, I'm too poor to be able to reproduce. I don't know. From this perspective, maybe all of this increased immigration is not an accident. It is an act of sabotage. Now, to raise children properly, there does need to be a sense of stability in that child's family. And perhaps this is why there has been such an effort to undermine marriage as an institution. Divorce is normalized, single motherhood is celebrated, and women are told that they don't even need fathers. And maybe it genuinely was compassion and a desire for equality to extend the concept of marriage to homosexual couples and possibly soon to polyamorous couples. But maybe there was also a darker element to it, an element of sabotage. It could be another luxury belief because the data bears this out. If you are wealthy and college educated, you are way less likely to get divorced. Your marriage statistically is likely to be quite stable. But it benefits you if the marriages of all of your female competitors are unstable and they break down and the children suffer. All the better for your offspring. Or let's talk about the attacks that we've seen on the very notion of womanhood. The messaging that has been pushed onto women that says that the notion of a strict gender binary is in of itself an expression of the toxic patriarchy. Or let's also talk about the T app or the Me Too movement. All of this stuff that is designed to paint dating and men as inherently dangerous, trying to warn women away from participating in the dating market. You have to ask the question, are they actually trying to protect women, or is this a very clever way of sabotaging your competition? Now, let me be clear. Right now, I'm going to speak for myself. I'm not just summarizing Dr. Danny's research and theories. I think that what's happening in society is complex, and it's due to a lot of different factors. And so I'm not personally signing off on absolutely everything that has been spoken about in this video. But I think that this is a fascinating lens to look at the modern world through. And I just wanted to share as transparently as I could this information that I gained from this podcast so that you can toss it around in your mind and see how well you think it fits reality. For me personally, I need some time to sit with this, to integrate this, to really think through the implications and think about how truly accurate I think all of this is. But you know what? At some level, it just hits. Because when you look at the messages of what is female empowerment in today's society, you do have to ask the question, why is it that the one thing that they seem to all consistently have in common with each other, the one feature that shows up in all of this, is that it makes it more difficult for women to reproduce, right? Like, that's strange. Women are like all biological organisms. They have a very strong instinct to have children, to reproduce, to pass on their genes. And surely any movement that is going to be about supporting women and empowering women would encourage and want them to be successful in that endeavor. And yet, all of the messages of female empowerment seem to be moving them further away from that success. It's suspicious, right? And when you look at all of this stuff, it seems obvious that it's going to lead to civilizational collapse. I mean, how could it not? And then you might think, well, but then why would that make sense from the woman who's doing all of the sabotaging? Why is it in her best interest that everything falls apart? But Dr. Dani says that that's not really a woman's concern. She's not thinking about how to preserve society. She's thinking about herself. She's thinking about her children. And if she and her offspring are doing better than everybody else at the time when civilization does collapse, then that places her and her descendants in a very powerful position of being able to be the ones in charge when they rebuild society. They'll be the ones on top. In the podcast, Dr. Dani says this is how it works. The civilizations rise and fall. They build, they expand, then they collapse, and it just keeps working in this cycle. Now, as I sit with this information, I can't help but take away as one of the biggest implications of this is that men are actually not the primary target of all of this negative female behavior. That's interesting, right? Like, as men, I'm sure that we can feel as though it's like, oh my God, everyone is so hard on us. Women just seem to hate us. What's going on? But from this perspective, it's other women who are the actual targets. That's who they're primarily going after. Men are more of an afterthought, like collateral damage. As in, you've got women trying to convince other women that men are terrible. But the real purpose is not to make men feel bad about themselves. The target audience is other women. They want other women to think that men are terrible so that women don't reproduce. They don't mate with those men, which then confers on them an advantage. From that perspective, we as men may be more irrelevant than we thought. Like all of this awful sexism against men, it may have just been an expression of female competition and sabotage. That's all that's been going on. And from a practical perspective, this lens excites me because it gives me a new angle with which to discuss this with women. You know, from the perspective of if they're saying all of this female empowering stuff or they're hating on men, you can kind of hit them with so why are you trying to sabotage other women? What's up with that selfish instinct? You know, are you feeling like you're not going to have an advantage unless you take down your competition? Why are you so desperate to convince all these other women that motherhood is drudgery and that men are terrible? You should stay away from them. I really look forward to having some conversations with women through that lens. I think that's going to be really interesting. But there's also the important question of how conscious is all of this? Now, to me, that is extremely important to address because I don't think any of us listening to this actually thinks that women are consciously planning sabotage and wanting to hurt other women. I think that gives them too much credit in the realm of self-awareness. I don't think that's what's going on. We're talking more about unconscious drives and instincts. But then we need to ask the question, does this undermine the legitimacy of Dr. Dani's theory? And they address this in the podcast, and she actually has a really good answer to it. And so a reminder, again, I'm going to put a link to the original discussion in the description box. If you want to hear her answer to that, then go and watch the original. It's a really great interview. Again, full credit to those guys. But in the extended version of this video, I'm also going to answer that question. I'm going to explain what her answer to this conscious versus unconscious divide is, why it makes sense to me. And I'm also going to go deeper into those questions about like men being collateral damage. I know this has already been a long video, but it's actually going to be quite a lot longer because I've got so much that I want to explore and talk about. So if you're loving this, you found this fascinating and you want to go deeper, good news, the conversation continues. Come and join me on Patreon. Best news of all, to celebrate my birthday month, I'm offering a 37% discount. My Patreon has never been more affordable, so come and check it out.